Well, actually, my story is a little bit complicated because I met Talya freshman year of college.
Parker and I met,
But she never noticed me because she was just this infamous Talya J. When I met her, it was through a friend that went to high school with her, and we was kind of like sitting around, looking at Facebook and comparing our high school to each other. So then the last picture he pulled out, he was like, watch this. It was a picture of Tay, and I was like, oh my God, like, who is that? And he was like, oh yeah, I told you. So she was just like gorgeous, man, like body, smile, everything. And I was just like, man, you gotta introduce us, man. And what he did was, he was staying with me at the time, we was roommates, so he said he was gonna talk to her. So when he came back, he was like, nah, no chance. I'm like, what do you mean, no chance? He was like, she said, if you're scared to come talk to her, then it's not even gonna be an option.
I remember meeting him when Oprah gave out those free KFC coupons.
And she came in, her friend, and I was at the front counter, and I was just talking to her. I was like, hey, I know you. And she was like, you don't know me? I was like, I see you all the time. She was like, nah. So I was like, okay, do you like anything with your food or everything? She was like, well, can I have a large drink for free or whatever?
My roommate and I had went to the KFC closest to us, and we tried to get the free meal, but I guess she had cut it off, so they were no longer giving it out. Now, he was working at the cashier area, so I guess he felt sorry for us, so he went and he spoke to his manager. And then I know he just came back and we had our meals. So we struck up a conversation, and he was saying that he knew me, and he was like, oh, you're always at our house all the time. And I was like, oh no, you have the wrong girl. I'm never at your house. And he was like, yeah, he was like, you're in, our group of friends. So I just kind of felt like he was just, maybe he had the wrong person.
So before she was leaving, I don't know if she was nervous or I just caught off guard. She just spilled the juice all over the counter. So I'm just shocked, like, what just happened? Like, I thought we was just talking, and he just spilled the drink all over the floor. So the guy behind her came and was like, oh man, you really got to talk to him now if he cleaned this up for you. So I'm just wiping. As soon as I tried to ask her her name and everything, she ran out the door.
Later on, we had a cookout at his house that I found out later on, and we were in this group called Scrabs. We, had a nice dinner, and then next thing you know, I know he came through the door.
When I was leaving, I was like, it's you. And she was like, you stay here? I was like, yeah, this is my house. She was like, you're never here though. I was like, because I work.
I was like, oh my God, this is your house? And he was like, yeah, I told you were always at my house. And so we became friends from these different events. We talked about working out. He learned, that I love working out all the time, and he was a personal trainer.
And then my friends was like, man, you should walk outside. Y'all might have a good connection. Y'all both had the same interests. And I'm just downplaying. I'm like, nah, she's the type of girl I told him, I was like, man, she's the type of girl I would marry because I can't mess that up.
So we actually exchanged numbers that night, mainly because we wanted to, I wanted to work out, and he was willing, to help me. So I called him, I think maybe like the following week, and because he stood me up. That
morning, I overslept, and man, did I get an earful. I mean, my roommate banging on the door, talking about, what are you doing? You messing this up. She's calling you. She tried to meet you out there. You just stand up. I'm like, oh, she's not serious. So they was like, no, she's serious. She was ready. So I called her. I'm like, you really want to work out? And she was like, yes. I'm like, all right.
And so he finally called me back, and he was like, let's reschedule.
So I meet at the track. And I used to have a reputation that I just, dog you out if you're out there on the track. So I'm like, okay, let me put her through one of my sessions and see if she can make it. Man, we get out there. I put her through suicides. I got her doing lunges. And personal training terms, I'm trying to break her down. So I have her running, and she just like in phenomenal shape. I mean, like, she looking at me like, is that it?
So we rescheduled, and then we had a really good workout.
When we decided to move to Atlanta, there was no turning back. Like, our relationship status was at all or nothing, pretty much. If you come back and we decide to move forward in our future, there's no turning back. There's no boyfriend, girlfriend. We're gonna go for the goal. And I was talking to my aunt at the time, and I was just like, I know I can't afford it, but it's some way I gotta get this done. And we just went to the mall, and she was like, you gotta step out on faith, just try it. I just went to Hillsbury, and I was just like, I see the ring I want, and I picked it. And the lady was like, oh, you get approved. You can take this ring home today. And I just looked at her like she was the biggest ghost. Like, what? Like, you gonna give me that ring today? She was like, yeah, here. Boxed it up, and everything went out the window. I was supposed to take her to Atlanta Botanical Garden, have all her friends around, but when I got that ring in my hand, I just went into panic mode. I was like, I gotta get this done. It's long overdue. I called my sisters. I was like, my aunt said, everybody, I was like, can y'all meet me at Bahama Breeze tonight? I want to get this done. And everybody had an excuse. Everybody like, oh, it's Thursday. I gotta work in the morning. There's no way it's gonna get done this week. I was like, man, it's going to happen now.
A few hours later, he texted me and said, okay, well, his aunt is having a dinner because she had just opened up a new office, and that we were going to go and celebrate. The family really wanted us to be there.
She was like, no, I'm tired. I got to work till 7, so that's not going to happen. So I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to happen? I was like, it has to happen. And she was like, oh, I'm just tired. I think I'm just going home and rest. So she drives home, gets home, and I have all the clothes and everything laid out. She was like, I don't think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna miss this one. You can go without me. So I'm thinking in my head, like, there's no dinner without you. Like, this is it.
He's there helping me fix my makeup and my hair because he's just really trying to, get me out the house. So finally, we got in the car, and I fell asleep on what felt like over an hour ride.
We pull up to Bahama Breeze, and everybody's just like, okay, this is gonna happen. So she walked in, and she's just clueless. I knew if I didn't do it then, she'll notice, because she's smart. She noticed everything.
And now at that point, I was really confused. But then he pulled my chair out into like the middle of the restaurant, and then I started freaking out a bit. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. It totally caught me off guard. And so I sat down, and at this point, we had everyone's attention in the restaurant.
And everybody looking at me like in the background, they just eat their food. They stop. They're like, do it. So my mom like, are you gonna do it? I'm just talking to her. So I started talking to her. I said, at the time, I was like, it was a hard time for the both of us. Is there any way, will you marry me at the end? And she was like, she just started crying and didn't say nothing.
He said, will you marry me? And I was like, yes. And I was just crying and laughing, in between.
So I just dropped down to one knee, and I'm still talking to her, and I'm not thinking about, okay, the right hand or the left hand.
And then he started putting the ring, but on the wrong hand. And then eventually he got it right.
And she was just like, yes. And then at that moment, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulder because I finally got it done. And that was it for them.
My expectations of a husband was someone who is a provider, someone who is connected to God spiritually and know what his responsibilities are as a husband and as a man, and also how he deals with struggle and challenges is very important to me, to have a man who knows how to seek God in the most challenging situations. On my worst days, always, know what to say. Like, it all just trickles back down to a man of God, a man who will love me like how Christ loves the church. Because, that is just truly everything that I want in a man. Everything else pretty much just falls into place.
When I met Talya, it wasn't even about what I brought to the table. It's how can you get better? We can get better. Like, you can do so much greater than what you're doing. And when I met other people, they was always impressed the fact that I was working 2 or 3 jobs and everything was paid for, and I was doing it on my own. But when she came around and she was like, nah, like, it's so much room for growth. I figured, like, man, she's a perfect catch. Like, I need her in my life. And when I look for a wife, it's more of a godly woman, someone who, fear God just as much as me. I feel like they're going to be there no matter what, even when things are get bad, not just when, everything's going good in your life, but when things are hard.
We're very passionate, about anything it is that we do. So I see us being an awesome team together. I will do whatever, it takes to support him and be submissive to, his goals and his dream, because I completely trust him. And he does the same for me. He believes in me so much, it's ridiculous. I doubt myself in a lot of things, and he's always like, oh no, you have it, like you can do this.
Every time I think of our relationship, I think of, not to say it, but, like a Barack and Michelle. Like, Barack, I think he wouldn't have been the president if it wasn't for Michelle pushing him. And when I look at Talya, she's the reason why I keep going. She's the reason why I push myself farther than what I'm capable of every moment. And that has to be the reason we're unique.
He's just such an awesome man of God, and I am just so excited about what our future is going to look like together.